Do you ever dream of working so hard that one day you might finally be able to pay your parents back for all that they've done for you? Well, for me, that's something I've always wanted to achieve. So when I saw this young and up-and-coming UFC prospect do just that, honestly, it made me not only happy, but inspired. So today I want to spread the good word of a young UFC prospect, and without further ado, let me introduce you to Joshua Van, the soon-to-be UFC flyweight champion. Joshua Van is on a tear in the UFC currently, and fans, myself included, are falling in love with his personality, fight frequency, and violence inside the cage. But before we talk about the current Joshua Van, let's get to know him a little bit better. Here, come with me. Let's take a walk. Joshua Van was born in 2001 and was born in a country I had never heard of, Myanmar. Josh spent about 10 years in his country of birth before eventually relocating to Malaysia. Now, Josh's family moved to Malaysia in hopes of a better future with greater opportunities. But this stay in Malaysia only lasted for 2 years. After this, the Van Man family would find their new home to settle in, a home in Houston, Texas. Life was better in Texas, but as Josh attempted to adapt to his new surroundings, he often found himself the victim of bullying, and in an interview he said this: "After I moved to the United States, I didn't speak English or nothing. And I was a small kid too. As a kid, people pick on you because you don't know the language, or you're a different race or something. And you're built small. I didn't like that, so I stood my ground and fought, especially because I couldn't say nothing back." This approach got him into his fair share of fights, but eventually this would come to change forever. Because with encouragement from a friend, our man Joshua Van joined an MMA gym. And this is where he would start his journey to becoming the UFC flyweight champion. Fast forward a few years into the future, and now equipped with years of training under his belt, we see our newest favorite prospect step into the UFC. Now at first, just like everyone else, Joshua was an unknown fighter, but he made sure very quickly that wouldn't be the case for long. Josh beat his first 2 UFC opponents by decision, and then finished his third by TKO. And all was looking great for the new UFC prospect. He was in the big leagues, he was handling opponents with ease, but then something unpredictable happened. In Josh's 4th UFC fight, he would suffer his first TKO loss to Charles Johnson. This was crushing for the young fighter, and it seemed like all his hype had been derailed. But we aren't talking about no fucking chump here. We're talking about Joshua the Man Van. Josh decided, fuck that. Time to lock in. He then went on a 4-fight dominant winning streak where he recently beat Bruno Silva's ass. To make this even more exciting, Joshua keeps proving us fight fans right. Because not only did he just beat the shit out of Bruno Silva, he is now going to turn it around 4 weeks later and fight the #1 contender, Brandon Royval. And can we just say it? We all love Joshua Van. Now, before we discuss and break down that fight, let me first talk about why everyone and their nan loves Josh Van. Number 1, his fighting style. We all love people who throw hands. Sure, we love dominant grappling too, this is MMA, but most people have to agree that someone with great takedown defense and great boxing is more exciting than a dominant grappler who just knees people in the thighs. And that's exactly what Joshua Van is. He's a well-rounded MMA fighter that has great takedown defense and beautiful boxing. It's Joshua's in and out movement with great combos, a high pace, and power in his hands that makes him fun to watch. Number 2 would be Josh's fight frequency. We all love fighters who show up often. Think of Kevin Holland in the COVID era, or early days Khamzat Chimaev before he got a cold. Even long-reigning champions like Volkanovski. Who doesn't love active fighters? Joshua Van is on that list. Not only is he fighting Brandon Royval on short notice, this is also like his 3rd fight for the year, and we're in June. Most people haven't even fought once yet. Number 3, his character. Joshua Van just seems like a young, hungry kid who won't back down from any fight. He's one of those rare UFC fighters that can be themselves and still be loved at the same time. He's not cocky, but he's confident. He's confident and he's coachable. And honestly, as he gets bigger and grows more in the sport, I think more and more people will come to love him and his personality. And just to piggyback off this character bit, this man, a 23-year-old, just bought his mum a house. I heard in an interview recently he said that his father passed away and he became the man of the house. Now, most 23-year-olds, if you give them a chunk of money, they're not going to go buy their mum a house. But this man did. This man fought his ass off, got great bonuses for it, and then went and bought his mum a house. If that doesn't tell you who he is as a person and the character that he is, I don't know what else to tell you. Now, notoriously, the UFC doesn't pay their athletes that well. So you might be asking, well, Shoga, how did he afford to buy his mum a house? Well, you see, when you're an exciting fighter in the UFC and you don't hug people's crotches and sniff them, there's a thing called a 50K bonus. And if you go down there and if you get in that cage and you throw down and you're exciting, you will get bonuses. And this situation applies to Josh a lot because out of the 8 fights he's had in the UFC, he's won 3 win bonuses. So if you haven't seen Josh fight yet, June 29th, UFC 317, check in. Now, speaking of June 29th, let's discuss his up-and-coming match with Brandon Royval. So when I look at this fight, the first thing that springs to mind is, does this short notice fight help Van or does it go against him? And let's break that down a little bit. So firstly, the pros for Joshua Van, the man. It's short notice, so Royval hasn't been training for him in particular. He's already just done a fresh training camp, and he's lower in weight, so he doesn't have to diet as much for this fight. On top of that, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So I feel like Josh is going to go out there, he's going to have the momentum, he's going to have this fire lit underneath him that he's got this opportunity, and given that he's not injured, this puts him in the best place possible to fight the #1 contender. He didn't have to go through all the other prospects, fighting Brandon Moreno and all these other top skilled guys. If he cracks and beats Brandon Royval, he is getting a title shot. And if that doesn't motivate you and get you locked in, I don't know what else will. And now the cons for this situation is Josh might still be banged up from the fight he just had. I don't see how you could fight for a solid 3 rounds, beating the shit out of someone's face and not have pretty banged up hands. Of course he's young, but I feel like his legs must be sore at a minimum. He took a lot of calf kicks in that first round, and I think that this will limit his ability to train and drill. Now obviously you only have a month, so there's probably not too much you can really do, but I'm sure they still need to game plan and drill a little bit of movements to make sure that they have an accurate game plan to do on that night. And yes, Josh is young. Even if he loses this, he can bounce back. But still, this is not a fight you want to lose on your resume. Yes, you could grow from a loss, but think of any future bouts. No one really loves rematches, and I feel like even if you lose on short notice, people still forget that it was short notice and they still say, oh, you lost. Like the loss that Volkanovski had to Islam. Yes, Volk stepped up and he took the fight, but really was that the real Volk in there? This will be the same thing for Josh. And yes, it's kind of a built-in excuse and you want the opportunity and you're taking it, but that loss is still a piece of dirt on your resume. It just doesn't make you shine as bright. But in the UFC, there's people who rise to the occasion, right? And if he does rise to the occasion and he does dare to be great and he does win, he hands in all the checks and everything is great moving forward. So when I look at this fight, I see this. I see them coming in, checking the range. I see Royval pressuring right off the bat. I do think early on Josh is going to get his calf chewed up. And meanwhile, Josh will probably have an opportunity there to tank a leg kick, but then time his right hand off that leg kick. I feel like at first Royval's game plan will be, all right, outpoint him on the outside. I feel Josh is very technical and very good. He's going to be able to cross that range and he's going to be able to get off a few shots. And then I do feel like Royval's going to say, fuck this, and he's going to turn it into a dogfight and they're going to start slanging and banging. From there, I feel like Josh has the power to knock out anyone at flyweight. I also feel like there is a potential that he himself could be knocked out. So we're in for an absolute treat. And if Josh wins this, he is on a trajectory to get the UFC Flyweight Championship. So guys, if you're new here, don't forget to slap the shit out of like and subscribe button and my anus. Click this video right here. Don't leave, just click this video, please. I really want to quit my job, please, please. Thank you very much for your support. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you next week. Peace out.